Did you mean billions of Hindus and Buddhists will all burn in hell just because they weren't born into your religion? Then what about the Muslims, the Sikhs, the Taoists, the Shinto, the indigenous faiths across Africa, the Americas, the Pacific Islands? Billions of people, entire civilizations. So here's the question. Between man and religion, who came first? Our ancestors lived, loved, hunted, and raised children thousands of years before the Bible, the Quran, or the Torah were written. Did all of them go to hell just because they believed in their gods? Because they prayed to Ra, to Aten, to the spirits of the land? Is eternity really filled with every ancestor who simply worshipped differently? And if the God of Israel is the only true one, then why not the God of Africa? Why not the gods of Egypt or Mesopotamia, or the countless spirits that guided entire civilizations? Why is paradise tied to one nation's God, while the rest of humanity is condemned? If God gave life to everyone, why would heaven depend on geography, on which book you were born under? So maybe religion didn't descend from heaven. Maybe man created it to explain the unknown, to control, to divide, to comfort, to rule. This is Unboxed World, where questions don't just scratch the surface. They tear at the foundations of what you believe.
So this is a great production by Unboxed World, just in case you didn't hear the name. But it makes you realize and wonder, how can people be so delusional or be so selfish as to think that their religion is the only religion? I understand there is a fear of hell and a fear of the devil and fear of not being in this paradise. And there's the indoctrination that you've been going through or that you went through, whether it is direct indoctrination where your parents, your family forced you into a church, or you're just surrounded by a culture that is angled more towards particular religion. But the problem is, this demonstrates how people are only what they believe based on indoctrinations and generally not because of what they thought they've critically thought through or anything of the sort. And this also reminds me of how Pascal's Wager only works if you're talking to another person who is atheist, that you have nothing to lose unless you're talking to an atheist who does not believe that there is anything left after this world anyway. Now, if you're talking to a Buddhist or a Hindu, then you're reincarnating. If you're talking to African spirituality, depending upon which one, you're either going to some type of hell or you're going to reincarnate, depending on what type of Wiccan or indigenous American or Australian Dreamtime people, depending upon what their situation is after death, because each religion answers the basic question of what happens after death. So you have to then say that with Pascal's Wager towards any one of those, that if you are wrong about your religion, then you have to deal with whatever their death cycle is. And of course, the answer is always something like, well, we know that ours is true. You actually have no idea that yours is true. That is completely based on your faith. There's no validation or verification for any religion that it is true or that any God is true. As much proof as you have of your God is as much proof as you have of Zeus. You say that yours is by literature. Theirs is by literature and storytelling as well. No one has ascended to Mount Olympus and then go into the ethereal version of Mount Olympus and find these gods. In the same way, no one has went to your ethereal ideas of heaven or the kingdom of God and have come back and returned in evidence of your God. It just simply doesn't exist, no matter whom you claim your God to be. And the only thing it has done is create separation, is create wars, enforce slavery, and enforce the will of people who would say that women are less than and that another nation doesn't deserve the right of our agency to be able to decide what they want to be and who they want to be. But that they must be what you have decided that they should be. A Muslim person would say that it is the command and the will of Allah that for those to follow him and believe in him. And if you don't, we have a right to kill you. It was manifest destiny through Christianity that said that, hey, because they were able to genocide to gain the promised land in the books of Joshua, we can genocide across America because it's manifest destiny, because of the great command by Jesus to go out and tell the world. It is these types of mindset that allows for slavery and every other horror that we have seen in this world. 99% of it has been based on religion. And that religion has masked also the greed of people. So these religions all came about because man couldn't understand why the wind blows, why the storm clouds form, and why it rains, and when there's a drought, why there's a drought, why the volcano explodes and the earthquake shakes the ground. And so they created religion, they created gods. And to this day, you are still believing, people are still believing in this. With all the scientific knowledge that we have today, the fact that people still believe this is an atrocity to the fact of humanity. The only reason we still have so much evil in the world is not because of a lack of religion, but it is because of religion. And the more and more we get rid of that, and the more we recognize the value of human life in the now, not the promise after, the more and more those evils will diminish, because it won't be about then the only thing we have to fight is the greed. And we can focus on greed instead of focusing on differences of a religion. And when we focus on greed, we can do better. We can do much, much better in this world. This is something that I hope to come really quickly, because without it, we are destined for failure. Destined severely for failure. Now, as far as anything else, share and like the video. Go to Unbox and follow their information. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration.